it's a little bit after the new year, and I wanted to put a video together about what I'm going to fish in 2021. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Major League Fishing Phoenix Bass Fishing League events that I'm going to fish. As everyone knows, FLW has gone away this year and it's been bought out by Major League Fishing. And the payouts look about the same. I think Major League Fishing maybe has put a little bit more money in when it comes to maybe the regional, the All-American, depending if you're running a Phoenix or not. And I think you can qualify for the Toyota Series Championships. But the entry fees remain the same. The payouts are pretty close to the same. And one thing they did is they put all the regionals on the same date this year. You know, that irritated a lot of guys. I saw a lot of comments on social media about why they did that. You know, I can't speak for Major League Fishing. I suspect they did it because they wanted to spread the field out and maybe keep guys from jackpotting certain divisions, you know, make guys commit to a division to fish all the tournaments. We'll see how it works out. That being said, I looked at where all the regionals were at and what the dates were, and I chose the Piedmont Division. The Piedmont Division regionals in the Potomac, and that's what I'm doing. A little more travel for me, certainly, because a lot of those tournaments are not even in the state of North Carolina. Some are, but some are pretty good drive up into Virginia. I've fished all the lakes before, and I certainly have spent time in the Potomac if I'm fortunate enough to make the regional. So that was my decision. I will say I am going to jackpot a tournament on Lake Norman, the first BFL in the North Carolina division. I fished that the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, and I've really enjoyed that tournament. I like fishing in February, that pre-spawn bite. There's a lot of fish in Norman, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to give you a quick kind of synopsis of what I think about these tournaments, and maybe to help some of you guys out. You know, Norman in February is certainly going to be a challenge. I think Norman, I've said it before, is a dock lake. I don't think anything's changed between 2020 and 2021. I think docks are going to play big time on Norman. I also think the weights are going to be real tight. You're going to need that one kicker, that 3.5, 4-pound largemouth, and you know, if you can get anywhere from maybe 11.5 to 13 pounds, you're probably going to get paid. You're going to get a pretty good check, and you're probably close to the top 10. I think last year maybe 18, 19 pounds won it, but usually that's only 1 or 2 guys that does that, and it drops off really quick. You know, 2 strategies on Norman that time of year. I mean, maybe I'm sure there's probably more, but for me, there's probably 2 basic deals. One, you run down the lake towards the dam, and you work a lot of those dock areas. Maybe even some of the hot ditches, depending what your boat draw is, if you can get in there, or you run up the river. The river's probably going to be muddy in February. It always is. It looks like coffee or chocolate milk every time I go up there. The hope is that maybe you can go upriver and catch some more largemouths. I haven't really found that to be the case for me. I had some buddies last year that did it, and they caught 1, maybe 2 fish. So it's not like you can just run up there in that muddy water and throw some power baits around and catch the fire at a big largemouth. So you got to know exactly where to go. So I'll probably do a little bit of both in practice and maybe see what works out. Certainly, I think the dock bite is the most reliable. It's just, can you catch that kick or largemouth? So that's pretty much what I think of Norman. I'm gonna try to get a couple days of practice in. I've already got a place locked on up there to stay. I've got a co-angler signed up, and I've got a partner that's going to stay with me. So really looking forward to Norman. I love that cold weather, and fishing Norman in February, it always starts the year off right. After that, you've got Smith Mountain Lake, April the 10th, I believe, up in Virginia. And for those that have ever fished Smith Mountain Lake, it's one of the most beautiful lakes in the country. At least I think it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's got smallmouth bass in it. It's got a huge population of stripers in it, and it's got some really, really nice largemouth. They can be a little tricky to get them bite. It's such clear water in that lake. Same thing, all these lakes have a river. You can run up. I think it's the Roanoke River, or you can run up. I think the Blackstone River, or whatever it's called. I don't quite remember, but I know there's the Blackwater River, and maybe it's the Roanoke. But there's 2 rivers you can run up on Smith Mountain Lake. For me, it's always been hit or miss on that lake. Sometimes I either catch them really good, or I catch pretty much close to nothing. And to me, it's a bait fish oriented lake. I think the water is so clear, those fish can be really spooky at times. April 10th, I don't think any will be on the bed. I mean, Smith Mountain Lake is a really well-known bed fishing lake because it's so clear. I mean, you can go up there and catch spawners. Certainly the weather will play. I mean, if it's warm, maybe some of them will be moving up. I don't think so. I think it'll be pre-spawn. I think the water temperature will still be fairly chilly. You know, my experience on that lake is they bed, they spawn towards the end of April, sometimes May. I've seen it, frankly, really chilly in the beginning of April. And, I would rather have it that way. I really don't want to go up there and have it be a spawning tournament. I think the locals really have a huge advantage because, frankly, bass spawn in the same general areas every year, year after year. And I think what you'll see is a lot of locals will just go up there and cherry pick all the big fish. They'll know where they're at, and the rest of us will be scrambling. So I'd rather see a good, some cold weather, warmed up a little bit certainly, but a pre-spawn event where you can get out and throw some power baits and cover a lot of water and puts the odds in your favor if maybe you're not a local and don't know the lake that well. I think it's probably about a 5.5, 6 hour drive for me. One thing about Smith Mountain Lake, I'll tell everybody here, it's an expensive lake to fish. The lodging around there, in my experience, is pretty limited, and everybody knows it, and that's usually my most expensive tournament of the year as far as lodging goes and even travel to get up there. But it's a great lake. I mean, smallmouth bass are in there. I've caught some really nice smallmouths on that lake. I don't necessarily target smallmouths on there. I'm sure some guys do. They just kind of show up for me, but I've had a lot of fun catching some good smallmouth. But I think that's going to be a great tournament. Springtime of the year, Smith Mountain Lake, beautiful mountains and homes and clear water, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, pre-spawn event, covering a lot of water. I think that's what you're going to have to do. Certainly got to pay attention to the bait fish on that lake. They've got these, I believe it's herring, or alewives on that lake. I think it's alewives, and they come up at night. For those of you that may not know this, it's something the bait fish really feed at night heavy there, and they do some really great night fishing on Smith Mountain Lake, but I think it's more towards the summer. I've never really gotten into it, but I've heard there's some fantastic nights in the summer up there when it gets warmer, and those I believe their alewives come up and they start feeding in that light around the docks and stuff, and guys really tear them up. So looking forward to it. I've had some good days on Smith Mountain Lake, and it's frankly it's my favorite lake in the East Coast to fish. I love it. I've looked at homes on that lake probably 25 times. I've gone around with realtors and everything else. It's just super expensive, but it's a great lake to fish. I'm looking forward to it. The next lake after that is Kerr Lake. It's going to be 2 May. What I'm hoping for the water to be in the bushes on Kerr Lake. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that water up above 301, between 301 and 304. I've done a little bit of talk before about how the bass move up in the bushes there in the spring. That's what I'd like to see. I like doing it. It's a fun way to fish. And, you throw your bait in that bush and just hang on. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, last year, there was all kinds of craziness going on. It was a super flood that came. I think it was 20-some feet above normal pool, and then it came way down, and it messed all the fish up. I think that there will still be some fish spawning, but I think it will be mostly a post-spawn tournament. I think Kerr is one of those places, again, mid-April to between 15th April to the end of April, a lot of those fish spawn. Maybe some of them a little earlier. I think it'll be a post-spawn tournament. I think some of the fish will be shallow. If it's in the bushes, they will be. Some will be out deep. You'll be able to catch them a lot of different ways. It's a big lake, huge lake. I mean, you can get on your boat and you can roll 45 minutes down that lake depending on where you're going to fish from where we're going to launch. So really looking forward to Kerr, hoping to do some flipping, and I think it'll be a great time. And Kerr has a lot of fish on it too. Another place not known for really big fish. I've never caught any really big ones on Kerr. I know they're in there, and I think my buddy last year, his co-angler, I think caught a 7-pounder in the BFL. Just caught it off a random piece of structure. But that's really pretty much the biggest fish I've ever seen or heard of caught in Kerr. Some of the locals will tell you they'll catch some big ones in there now and then, but I think really for Kerr, a 3.5 pound fish is a really good fish. What are the weights going to be? I think, again, Kerr will be around 19 pounds, 20 pounds to win the tournament. It should be a lot of fun. Kerr is always wide open. There's a lot of things you can do. Probably some top water will place. Flipping's going to place. Cranking's going to play. You can probably drag a Carolina rig offshore. That's probably going to play. So should be a really fun lake to fish. All right, so the third lake is High Rock Lake, right? High Rock has been my nemesis. Me and a couple buddies, for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. It seems like it's always on the schedule depending on what division we fish. High Rock is on there. I'm going to try to straighten this camera out just a little bit. Yeah, it's a little better. High Rock is always on the schedule, and man, it is always tough on us. And last year it was muddy. It seems like it always is. There's big logs floating down the middle of that thing, and the guys that do well are the guys that have fished it for 20, 25 years. I think the fish are concentrated in certain areas on that lake. I don't think they're spread out, and I think there's really a technique to catching them. And you hear rumors about different guys doing different things. I saw last year, I know a couple of the guys did really well. Were fishing docks. They were throwing jigs on docks. I know that. Verified it. Buddy of mine was a co-angler fishing. One of the guys did really good. He was throwing jigs on docks. Specific docks, of course, right? Docks that had, different structure and things like that up underneath of them. And, he did really well. I think it's going to be a tough deal. I don't know what I'm going to do, quite frankly. I think I'm going to try and fish offshore. I caught some last year doing that. I didn't catch many doing that. I caught a couple in the tournament doing that. And the irony of it, that couple I caught was good enough to put me kind of in the middle of, where I needed to be. And I tell you, a couple of these guys know how to catch them. I think a lot of y'all watch, different guys on YouTube, and one particular guy catches them really good. He knows who I'm talking about. And man, I've been watching your videos, buddy. I've been watching what you're doing. And if you're watching this video, just know I've been watching you. And so we'll see what happens. Last year, I threw a big crankbait a lot. I threw a Carolina rig some, and I threw a shaky head some. You can go back and look at my High Rock video last year. I don't think it's going to be any different this year. I'm just hoping it's not flooded, it's not muddy, there's not a bunch of trees floating down the river, and we can kind of get around and we can fish. There are some huge fish in High Rock Lake. I mean, there are some monsters in there. And every time some guys catch some really nice fish, and man, I would love to get into them. Typically, it's over 20 pounds to win on that lake, and there's some big ones in there. But High Rock's going to be tough. And, I think it's, It's the end of June. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be hot, humid. We'll see what happens with High Rock Lake. That's going to be a critical tournament right there. I mean, you're going to have to catch a few fish in High Rock Lake. So the next tournament, what's that going to be? So the next tournament is going to be the James River. And, man, I love fishing the James River, I'm not the greatest at the James River. I've had some good tournaments on the James River. I fished it a lot, frankly. But we always have a great time in the James, man. It's wide open. It's big. You can run 60 miles from where we launched down to the couple of those rivers down south. I mean, I think you can catch bass like almost to the ocean down there in that thing. And it's a really cool place, right? Got a lot of wood, a lot of vegetation. It's shallow. It's a tidal fishery. I love it, and I'm looking forward to that thing. It's going to be hot and brutal, and the bugs are going to be bad, and the bites are. And it's not going to be easy. The James is never easy. You're not going there and just loading the boat with, 35, 40 fish. At least I never have. But there are some good fish in that river depending on where you're at. And you can have a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to it. The weights on that river, again, I think you're going to need around 20 pounds or so to win. Somebody's probably going to go down south and get into some of those big fish down there. For those that don't know it, the state of Virginia stocks and Florida bass and a couple of those creeks and rivers in the James, and I don't think it's a secret. I'll give you a little homework to do. For those that don't know, you can look it up online and find it in probably 5 minutes. But there's some Florida bass that have been stocked in certain places in that James River. If you can get in there and get into them, man, you can catch some big stringers. And, the guys that fish it a lot know. So that's a decision. Do you stay kind of the northern James, and hope to put a good 3 pound average together, or do you run down south and you go for the big bites, right? Get the big stick out. There's a lot of grass down there, a lot of lily pads. There's milfoil and hydrilla in that place. It's a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to the James. Be one of the best tournaments of the year, in my opinion. Me and my partner are both stoked for it. So looking forward to the James. It's hard on your boat, and you're going to burn a lot of gas, and for me, a lot of oil. But it's going to be a good time. After that, you've got Kerr, and Kerr is 2 to 3 October. It's going to be a fall bite on Kerr, and it's going to be tough, in my opinion. I'm not going to tell you what I think will play on Kerr. I'll tell you. I think it's going to be, you're going to have to throw a crankbait a lot. There may be a topwater bite. I don't think the fish will be offshore. I guess they still could be, depending on the weather. As you know, we're fishermen, so we watch the weather. Like it's a religion, basically. We get a couple cold nights in September. I'm hoping that those fish will move shallow, but it could very well be something offshore going on Kerr. But another tournament that I'm really looking forward to, it's 2 days. Now, I will tell all you guys that there's a possibility that, I don't know, there's a possibility that I may not fish that tournament. I don't know. And I don't know how I can qualify for the regional without fishing that tournament. I committed to an elk hunt in September, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to Montana and hunt elk. I've got to draw a tag still. I may not draw an elk tag. If I don't draw an elk tag, I'll certainly be there. But if I draw an elk tag, I'm going bow hunting in Montana. I may come back, that night, the night before, and don't even pre-fish it and go up there and fish as hard as I can and hope I get 1 or 2 bites. But I'm going elk hunting the week before. If I get a tag, if I draw a tag with my good buddy, Brian Gilman, he runs the Warriors in Quiet Water Project, our foundation up there in Bozeman, Montana. They take veterans fly fishing to help guys out that have TBI and PTSD. It's a great program Brian runs up there. And so, Brian, if you're watching this, shout out to you. Hey, if you're a 9/11 combat vet and you want to go fly fishing in Montana, give Brian a call at Warriors in Quiet Waters, and they will take care of you. I mean, he's got a beautiful place up there, and he really treats the guys right. But that's Kerr, October 2 to 3, and the regional. Again, another great event. 14 through 16 October in the Potomac. It's going to be some cold nights before that. I promise you, I've spent a lot of time in the Potomac River. You're going to have a few cold nights. It's going to be a little bit chilly, and it's going to be fun fall fishing. It's going to be tough. It's never easy on the Potomac that time of year. So if those guys that are out there hoping you're going to qualify for that regional, and you're going to go up there and smash this big fall bite in the Potomac, I'm here to tell you, you're probably not going to do it. Right? It's going to be tough. You're going to have to make a lot of casts, and you're going to have to be in the right spot at the right time. And there's really some bad storms that time of year. That's right about the sweet spot where the wind blows really hard. And it gets cold, and man, that wind starts blowing on the Potomac. You better hang on. But it's another great fishery. Most everybody that bass fishes has heard of the Potomac River. You can fish all the way, again, almost down to the ocean down there, or all the way up in Washington, D.C. And it's a great place to fish. So that's what I'm doing this year. I'm fishing the Piedmont Division. 5 tournaments in the Piedmont division: Smith Mountain, Kerr, High Rock, James, and then Kerr, back to Kerr again for the 2-day. Hoping to make the regional on the Potomac. And I'm going to start it off on Lake Norman in the North Carolina division. For all you guys that are fishing Norman, 21 February, hey, I'm going to be ready to whip it on, and I hope you are too. It's going to be a great tournament. So that's pretty much my year for Major League Fishing events. I am going to fish probably some North Carolina Bassmasters events and maybe some Neuse River Bassmasters local tournaments. I've got a partner, me and him, have fished those things for years, and if time permits, I'm going to do it. So that's it. I'm really looking forward to 2021, and I also want to give a shout out to the Combat Warrior guys. You can see the hat I'm wearing here. Combat Warriors event. So I did a little bear hunting in Hyde County this year, and I'm going to post a picture up here of the bear I shot. It wasn't a huge bear, but I was tickled to death with him. I shot him with a lever action 45-70. For those hunters out there that kind of get a little hunting in between fishing seasons, you know what I mean. It was a great place. I mean, Hyde County is unbelievable. I hunted 2 weekends down there. I saw bears every weekend. And man, I heard some stories and I saw some pictures of huge bears, and a lot of them. I fished the late season, and they say the early season is the way to go. But Combat Warriors hooked me up with that hunt. My buddy Chris Milligan, I think you can look him up on Facebook. You can probably look him up on Instagram. Combat Warriors, again, combat veterans. If you're looking for a good hunt to go on, guys that'll treat you right, look up my buddy Chris Milligan. Check out some of the hunts he puts on. And man, if you want to go bear hunting, that is the place to go. It is really a cool place. It is some wild and woolly terrain up there, some big swamps, some big bears. It's a pretty cool place. So, and of course, everything you would imagine that would happen on a bear hunt happens, right? All the locals have been hunting them for 30 years, and the big trucks and the mud and the bears and the dogs and all the talking and all that, right? Just good times. So shout out to Combat Warriors, and that's about it. And guys, I'll see you out there in 2021. My next video, I made some changes in my boat this year, and for those of you who've been kind of watching my All-American, you probably know what I'm talking about. I bought a few accessories for my boat, and hopefully she'll have them on here in the next couple weeks, and I'll post a video and I'll talk about it, and I'll tell you why I did it, how much money I spent, and what I'm hoping to get out of it. So, hey, thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you out there in the water, out here. Here we go with the bonus footage. This is me in Montana around Thanksgiving time frame. I got there, it was snowing, and I was with the Warriors and Quiet Waters Foundation in Bozeman, Montana, and the executive director, Brian Gilman, is the man you see with the beard. He took me out to the mountains. He took me fishing for trout and some of the famous streams there in Montana, and the scenery was absolutely breathtaking. I can see why people fall in love with Montana. It's such a beautiful state, and I'm definitely going back, as I mentioned earlier. And his family, Marianne, his wife, makes everyone feel at home. She's such a great person and such a pleasure to be around. And also their kids, they have 2 sons, Gabe and Tyler, and they are great young men, and just couldn't be any nicer or polite and smart kids, strong kids. And of interesting note, the Gilmans were some of the original, I guess, pioneers to Montana, and he took me by his family plot, and I thought that was really neat. So the Warriors and Quiet Waters Foundation. The next thing I wanted to share with y'all is the Combat Warriors hunt I did in Hyde County in December. It was probably, I think, mid-December when I did this hunt, around December the 19th. Chris Milligan, you can see in this picture, runs the program, and these are some warriors that I went hunting with, and we had a great time. We got a bear, and it was a whole lot of fun. And last, Lake Okeechobee, Florida. So I went fishing with Steve Albertson of Steve Albertson Fishing. You can look him up on Instagram, and he put us on some really nice fish, and we had a great time. So a great off season for me, guys. Look at this dog, Jay.
How'd you get buried in that blanket, huh?